Okay, so I am working on sewing this guy together and cleaning up this pattern and getting rid of annotations. I need to turn our dart annotations into actual darts. And I decided to sew it up. It would just be better to get rid of the dart seam allowance. So I'm kind of stuck on this fisheye dart. And the main reason is because it's not all one shape. So I'm having trouble cutting my pattern. So I have to figure out how to get it to be one shape, if I can get all the lines to connect. So let me show you why. Because if I draw an internal shape, such as a rectangle, oops, you know what? Let me try that again. Let me make sure. I'm going to hit the letter A. I'm going to select this pattern. I'm going to go to a tool that can draw internal shapes. And I do feel bad that this is kind of intermediate. Hopefully you aren't running into as much problems as I am with your pattern. If you are, and this is too intermediate for you, you don't have to sew up all the darts, but I do want to explain and tell you how to in case you want to know. Okay, so I just drew an internal shape. I'm going to hit the letter A, and it selects the internal shape. When you select an internal shape that's fully closed and you right-click, you get an option to convert to a hole, which basically punches out a hole. And that's what I'm trying to do, but I want it with this diamond shape. But you can see these segments are all individual. They're not connected the way that that square was. Command Z, I'll say delete. So I just need to figure that out. And so I thought, well, maybe if I can select them, I can right click and extend to the internal lines so that they would connect to each other. Let me see if that worked on that bottom one. No. So I'm wondering if instead, why don't I change these to baseline? So I know we have not talked about internal lines. We have not talked about baseline. So now's probably a good time to do that. I'm going to say convert to baseline. So let me bring your attention over here to our toolbar. We have 3 different tools to draw shapes. This first one here is just to draw pattern shapes, okay? The second one is to draw internal lines, and we use internal lines for all kinds of different techniques, as you'll see throughout the semester when we do different technique samples. It's just kind of a way to communicate with the computer to do various things. So we will be using internal lines an awful lot. Then you'll notice there's also a thing called a baseline. Baselines don't really do anything. They're more like a reference point. So sometimes when we do an internal line and we change it, you might have a baseline just left over so you can see where your original line was. Baselines are purple, kind of like little shadows. And then internal lines are usually yellow. I think, wait, let me double check. Now I'm forgetting. Are all my base, and here I'll show you. Internal lines are all one color, and then your pattern lines are also a color. So let's select this guy. Okay, this guy's yellow. Let me see what the maybe internal lines are red. Now I'm forgetting. Yeah. Grab that guy. Anything you select is yellow. Okay, so it looks like your regular pattern outline is actually black, and then internal lines tend to be red when they're not selected. Baselines tend to be purple when they're not selected. Baselines also will automatically be locked as well. So if you ever need to delete a baseline, you're going to want to unlock your pattern. Well, in this case, I don't want to unlock it because I think what I'm going to do is just get my internal line tool and I'm going to draw this shape myself. So internal, I suppose maybe the polygon is the way to go. So let's try it. I'm going to go click, 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 click. And then I really want this closed at the end. Okay, and it did. It closed it for me. Now let's see if it is officially a closed shape. I switch back to the A tool to select it. I'm going to right click, convert to whole. Yay! That's what we wanted. So that was pretty intermediate. I'm glad that we stumbled upon it. This is something that's important to know if you really get into pattern drafting and whatnot. So we might be kind of brushing over this throughout this semester. But yeah, okay. So let's focus back to sewing. So now I need to sew this fisheye dart closed. So that means I have to sew this top dart leg to the other top dart leg. And I need to sew the bottom dart leg to the other bottom dart leg. I think in this case, it's still easiest to just use the segment sewing tool. So I'm going to go click for the top one. I'm minding my little tabs. Click and click. Cool. Okay, good. So that guy's ready. And oh, I need to sew my shoulder dart. Okay, that guy's ready too. Okay, so now I can delete all of those annoying annotations. So I'm going to hit the letter Z. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to click, drag, and drop, and hit delete. Oh no! I forgot to lock my pattern. So I'm going to hit the letter A. I'm going to click the pattern. I'll hold Shift and grab the other one. I will right click, and I will lock it. Now I will hit the letter Z. I will click, drag, and drop, and delete. Uh-oh. Let me try that again. Okay. I also need to lock my lines right here. So I suppose I can hit A and right click, lock. Okay, I locked both of them. Okay, let's try again. I hit the letter Z. I'm going to click, drag, and drop over all of this. And cool, my annotations are gone. Thank goodness. Okay, it's going to be easier now. I'm going to right click and we're going to unlock all pattern pieces. I'm going to right click and we're going to unlock all internal lines. I'm going to right click and you know what? I'm going to leave the baselines locked. I don't really care. That's how the computer defaults it anyways. So we kind of ran into a quick little lesson about pattern outlines, internal outlines, and baselines. So I hope you're taking notes, and I'll definitely be talking about them again throughout this semester. Okay, let's go ahead and now focus on finish sewing it together. I'm going to hit our sewing tool, the edit sewing tool right here. It has a little white arrow next to it, and right away I can see all the seams that I've already assigned stitches to. So I've assigned stitches to, looks like just the darts here and the darts, and that's it. One thing I should let you guys know in CLO, whenever you see a little white arrow, that's an edit tool. So you can see what's already happened, you can make changes, delete, all that good stuff. Where this guy right here, there's no white arrow. So I would not want to use this tool to change any stitches. And same with this one as well. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to sew the center back to the center back. Maybe in this case, segment sewing might be okay, but I have two segments. So I could use that. I could go click, 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 click. Or I could also use my free sewing tool as well, in which case I could click one time and go all the way down to the bottom and click to finish. And then I can go back up to the top and click one time and go all the way down to the bottom to finish and click. So that some people might think that's a little bit easier, that's a little bit faster. I will say the free sewing tool, it's more intermediate. You're going to use it as you start getting more comfortable and really want to sew up more complicated items. The free sewing tool is going to be your best friend. But because it's only Module 3, you're still probably new with sewing. You know, it might be a good idea to start with the segment sewing tool, and then if you kind of get stuck, move on to try out the free sewing tool. Okay, so I got the center back sewn. I also need to sew up my side seam. So I do know that this side seam is going to get sewn to this side seam. Okay. And if you're not sure, how I figured that out as well is I could click this pattern right here, and do you see my blue picking point? I just basically clicked right here, so I'm pretty close to this side seam. And then if I right click and click right here, you can see my picking point is pretty close to this side seam. So that kind of helps me know, oh, I'm supposed to sew this side seam over here, you know, as opposed to like this side seam. Okay, you can also sew in the 3D, but it's recommended to do it in 2D because you do have a bit more control. Now, the segment sewing tool is not going to be great here because we have only one segment to sew, and in this case, we actually need to sew two segments. So, if you want to use the segment sewing tool and not the free sewing one, you do have this option called M to N. So let's try that. I'm going to click it. I'm going to zoom in. So M, it says select a segment to begin M sewing. Okay, so I'm going to click here. My tab is starting at the top. I'm going to click here. My tab's also at the top. And then now I clicked both of them, and it says press enter to complete M. So am I done sewing? Yeah, that's all I want. I just want one of my side seams to all be that green. And then now I want to sew it to the other one. So this will be side M, and I'll go over here, and this is going to be side N. So I'm done. I don't want to, I hope I didn't click that. Did I click you? Oopsies. No, I don't think I did. Oh, shoot. Pansy. There we are. Okay. Let me try that again. So I'm going to go click, click. That's good for M. Right? That's not clicked. I'll zoom out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enter. I'm on a Mac. It's actually return. Now do you see how the message is different? The message says select a segment to begin N. So what do you want to sew this to? I want to sew it here. And do you see how it's going to sew it? It's sewing 2 segments into one. I'll click it. And then you know what? Oopsies. Why are my arrows going funky? That's all I want, actually. I don't know why it's stuck. I guess I'll just have to hit return. And it worked out. I hit enter and it worked out. So this looks good. The little mini purple guy, I'm going to switch to my edit tool, my sewing edit one. Little purple is going to get sewn to the top, and directly underneath it is the side seam. They're the same length, so it's going to work out great. So this side is M, and this one was N. Maybe confusing today. Keep practicing it this semester. Here, we're actually going to try it again. Okay, so I'm going to do my M to N segment, and I'm going to click this top segment. Click. You are part of M. Keep sewing. I don't want you to stop sewing. Click that. I want the whole side seam. That's it. That's the whole side seam. So I'll say return or enter. Now it's like, hey, go get N. What do you want to sew this guy to? I want to sew it to this guy. Click one time, return, or enter. Okay. Tricky, tricky. You will get lots of sewing practice this semester. Okay, what else do we have to sew together? I guess our shoulder seams, right? And again, we have that problem where there's a dart. So really we have 2 segments that are gonna get sewn to one. So the good news is we get to practice our M to N sewing again. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put the tab closest to the neck opening. I'm gonna click one time, and that's it for that side. So I'll hit return. And I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna start at the neck opening again. I'll click one time, and hit return. Okay. All of this is looking good. Those are my stitches. They're pulled really apart. We need someone to go pull the thread in. We're not ready yet. Okay, looks like I have to do the other side as well. Maybe this time I'll start with this side. My tab closes to the neck. Click, click, return. Now let's go to the other shoulder seam. Tab closes to the neck. Click, and return. Okay, cool. Now we gotta sew the sleeve. How do we sew a sleeve? Well, to sew a sleeve, we definitely need this seam sewn. Look, you can sew in the 3D window. Ready? Click. Actually, I don't want to do M and N. I'm going to switch. Segment. Okay, here we go. Click. Click. There we go. It's a little bit harder. Here we go. Let's try it again. Click. Let me get it in closer. Click. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, you know what? I just can't. It's too much. So here we go. They do have the one stitch that I tried to do. There it is. I was able to click it. For some reason that side, but I can't click to the other one. It's just easier to sew on the 2D pattern. So all I have to do is click one time because I want those guys sewn together. I need to do that on the other guy. Oh, it did it automatically because they are mirrored. Now I gotta get this in the armhole. Okay, and I think we need to talk about, did we talk about already, how do we know which is the front and which one is the back? That's a little tricky. So it looks like we have some double notches over here. So that's gonna represent the back side, that's industry standard when you see double notches. So I know that this side is supposed to be the back, and then leaving this one would be the front. So let's look at this, guys. So that means this sleeve actually, I wonder if I put them on the wrong sides. I'm gonna have to move them, I think. Move you. Okay. So that means this guy is actually gonna get sewn over here. And so like this front part is gonna get sewn to this front part. And this front part will get sewn to this front part. And this back part will get sewn to the other back over here, and this back will be over that back. Okay, so here, I'm gonna hit the number 2 in my 3D window. I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna select these sleeves. I'm gonna select one, I'm gonna hold shift, I'm gonna select the other one. I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna say reset 2D arrangement because I think I have them on the wrong arms. And I replace them the right way. So now I know this guy will go on this arm. So in order to arrange it, I need my blue dots, my arrangement points. You can do the keyboard shortcut, Shift F, or you can just click that button. Okay, so here we go. This dot's probably a good one. Maybe this dot. Yeah, that. Oopsies. Click, click. Okay, zoom in. And click. There we are. And I think it did the other one for me as well. Great. Okay. So now I just need to sew the sleeve to the garment, which I know might be a little bit advanced, but here we go. I think in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave the segment sewing tool, and I'm going to take advantage of the free sewing tool. I actually think it just might be easier. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna do the free sewing tool, the M to N. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll start at the underarm of the sleeve. This is the front underarm. And I'm gonna go all the way around. This is where our shoulder seam is. I'm gonna go down here to the back underarm side seam. So I'm gonna click one time, going all the way around our entire sleeve. I'm gonna click, and that's it. That's what I want my M sewing to be. And now I'm gonna go work on the N. Click, enter. Okay, so N, I started down here. So I need to start also at the bottom in the front. I'm gonna go ahead and click and come up and click. I'm not done. I need to go to the other side, which is gonna be right here. And do you see a blue dot? It's showing me. So the sleeve is actually longer than our armhole. That's because it was designed for easing. Easing's when sewers will sew more fabric on one side than the other to help with fit. So I'm not gonna click that blue dot. I am purposely gonna sew a longer piece, a shorter one. So I'm just gonna click right here, and then I can say enter. And I could go and look and make sure I did the right spot. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so now let's do the other side. Okay, let's see. Okay, it looks like it did. Did I do? Ooh, it copied the back. Okay, so I just need to go finish the front, apparently. So I'm gonna click right here at the shoulder seam and come down and click. And then I'll come over here. Oh, I need to hit enter because that will be M. And then I will click here and finish and click return. Okay. Wow, that was a lot. Okay, the sewing looks decent. This is going to be a huge learning curve for you. I understand. But we can do this. We can do this. Okay, so let's see if this actually worked. The final step now is to simulate so that all my stitches get, pulled tight and gravity kicks in. So here we go. So to simulate, I like to hit the space bar. You can also hit this arrow, but I think it's more effective to hit the space bar. So here I go. Cool. There we go. I did it. These red lines are just showing that those are some internal lines I have. If I don't want to view them, let's see here. We can turn them off under one of these. Here we go. So the first one, I believe. Right here, you can see the little red thing, show internal lines. I can click that. And then same with baselines, if we don't want to see the baselines. Let me find that one. Oopsies, come back. Show baselines, there we go. So that way, if you don't want to see it on your avatar, you don't have to. There we go. And then I'm gonna unsimulate. I can tell there's a hand. So like, if the hand's good, if you just like, something got put in the wrong spot, you can kind of pull your fabric a little bit as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna unsimulate. So I hit spacebar, so now the selection tool is back. It just takes on less memory on your computer when you're not simulating, so it's generally a good idea if you don't need to be in simulation mode. And anyways, that is our big challenge for this module, is to import a pattern that's already been drafted. You're kind of cleaning it up as best as you can. You're adding seam allowance is an option. Definitely want to name the pieces. You definitely want to check on the grain line, and you want to sew them up. You want to place them. I know this is a lot because we're new, as long as you can do this part, then we can really move on and start making this look realistic. But let's see if we can all at least do this, and that will complete this assignment.